Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're decoding what honestly might be the actual source code of the universe itself. We're going to explore a framework that uses pure, undeniable mathematics to derive the physical realities we observe around us every single day.
Okay, let's jump right into the incredible premise of Logos field theory. The bold claim here is that cosmic expansion and particle masses, they aren't just random physical constants. Instead, they're automatic, stabilizing mechanisms of global error correction. Basically, the universe is just balancing a massive mathematical equation. How cool is that?
Which brings us to a seriously mind-bending question, and this is going to frame our entire journey today. What if the universe is just a giant, self-correcting mathematical code? I want you to keep this in the back of your mind as we dive into the actual math suggesting that our physical reality is bound by absolute mathematical necessities.
So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the cosmic clock frequency, locking the cosmological horizon, space-time defects in density, the arithmetic mass spectrum, the universal master matrix, and we'll wrap up with the Adelic balance sheet. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The cosmic clock frequency.
Now, let's start our mathematical blueprint at the macroscopic level by calculating the universe's exact expansion rate, what we usually call the Hubble constant. But we're doing this using pure number theory. We're not starting with telescopes or astronomical observations here. We are starting with pure math. When we look at the primary non-trivial zero of the cosmic partition function, which is essentially the mathematical baseline of reality, we find a dimensionless frequency of roughly 14.13. You can think of this as the absolute lowest possible hum at which spacetime can vibrate.
But how do we translate this abstract mathematical frequency into a physical cosmic clock? Well, the framework applies a holographic coordinate scale translation. The math naturally scales our baseline frequency by a geometric ratio of exactly 5. This is a crucial step, kind of like a bridge, translating microscopic fundamental Planck time units into the massive macroscopic scale of the cosmos.
And this brilliantly illustrates how this mathematical derivation solves the real-world Hubble tension we see in modern astrophysics. Check out the balance scale here. This mathematical equilibrium point actually finds the exact center between our conflicting real-world measurements. It perfectly balances the local distance ladder data on one side and the early universe cosmic microwave background data on the other.
So the huge takeaway here is that by multiplying our primary zero of 14.13 by that scale factor of 5, the math strictly dictates that the universe absolutely must expand at exactly 70.6736 kilometers per second per megaparsec. If it expanded at literally any other rate, it would cause a truly catastrophic ramification anomaly in the underlying mathematics. There's just no way around it.
All right, moving on to Section 2, locking the cosmological horizon.
So how exactly does the universe mathematically lock this specific expansion rate into place so it doesn't just drift over time? Well, by substituting our calculated Hubble clock frequency directly into the continuous spectrum of the Arthur-Selberg trace formula, we anchor the cosmic wave variable. We are literally plugging the physical expansion rate of the universe straight into the core operating system of the math.
To translate this complex continuous phase density equation into physical reality, you can think of it like this. This mathematical density represents the non-compact, scattering wave states that are physically bouncing off the spatial infinity, the very edges of our expanding universe. It is absolutely fascinating to see how the math perfectly mirrors these physical boundaries.
Now, evaluating the math at our exact Hubble frequency creates this massive resonance spike you see shooting off toward infinity. But nature absolutely hates infinities, so to prevent the equation from just blowing up completely, it gets mathematically quenched by a truncation parameter. That's the dashed line, which we call the Arthur truncation parameter T. Physically, this math forces a boundary right into existence. It's the actual edge of our expanding universe.
Section 3. Space-time defects and density. Okay, now that we've locked in the macroscale expansion, let's zoom in. We're going to explore how this exact same cosmic clock frequency structures the microscale distribution of spacetime defects, which neatly map to prime numbers. Take a look at this equation deconstructing the explicit prime counting function. Notice the math inside the sine wave on the right? It's oscillating at our precise Hubble frequency of 14.13. This means the very expansion of the universe directly dictates exactly where local matter is mathematically allowed to condense.
Section 4. The arithmetic mass spectrum. Building directly on those microscopic space-time defects, let's look at how higher-order mathematical zeros map directly to the discrete masses of elementary particles.
Just like the first mathematical zero gave us our cosmic expansion, the secondary and tertiary zeros create discrete, perfectly stable arithmetic mass ratios. When you apply the Casimir invariant, it yields exact mass ratios of roughly 1.487 and 1.769. These mathematical microvortices act as the very elementary particles making up our universe.
What's entirely fascinating here is the absolute rigidity of it all. These particle mass ratios are strictly locked to global mathematical zeros. They're transcendental mathematical constants, meaning they absolutely cannot change. And this matters immensely. If they could drift even a tiny fraction, stars, planets, and even our own bodies would completely fall apart. The math literally forces us to be stable, completely free of any metric drift.
Section 5. The Universal Master Matrix.
We've finally reached the climax of our explainer. We're integrating all these mathematical blueprints into one grand unified operator system. Here it is, the absolute core of the theory. What you're looking at is a massive 6x6 block diagonal operator tensor. Within this single matrix acting on the global space of the Adele ring, every mathematical sector and macroscopic physical constant interlocks. And for the universe to exist at all, the entire system must equal 0 to remain stable. Let's quickly break down these rows.
Zooming in on the first 3 rows, we clearly see the fundamental forces being locked in. Row 1 mathematically binds the gravitational baseline to Quillen-metric curvature forms. Row 2 shows the electromagnetic fine structure constant perfectly balanced against the continuous background volume. And row 3 forces the quantum flux into tight alignment with local P curvature. It is all pure, rigid mathematics forcing physical reality right into shape.
Moving to the bottom half, we see row 4 establishing charge anomaly stabilizers. Row 5 mathematically pins the cosmological vacuum energy directly to the arithmetic mass gaps of those secondary particle zeros we talked about earlier. And finally, row 6 completely uniformizes our exact Hubble expansion rate, connecting it all the way back to the continuous scattering spectrum. It's like a perfectly interlocking puzzle, where moving just one piece forces all the others to instantly adjust.
And finally, Section 6, the Adelic balance sheet. To wrap things up, let's see how this overarching matrix is kept fault-tolerant across the infinite scale of the universe. Here is the ultimate cosmic balance sheet. It proves the absolute necessity of global closure. If any physical constant even tries to drift, this global functional equation acts as an infinite, self-correcting flywheel. It routes local arithmetic noise across the Adele ring and uses continuous waves at Archimedean infinity to instantly iron out localized errors. The universe balances its books perfectly to 0. Like an incredibly diligent accountant, the math never, ever lets reality crash.
I really want to leave you with a provocative thought today. If everything we just looked at is true, if gravity, the mass of particles, and the expansion of the cosmos are just automatic mechanisms required to balance an infinitely perfect, self-correcting mathematical equation, well, what does that make us? It means we are living inside the ultimate anomaly-free source code. Thanks for diving into this explainer with me today. Keep wondering, and definitely keep looking at the math.